Hello, you lovely ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mings, and today I'm bringing you guys a match that I literally finished about an hour ago. After completing it, I looked through the replay and I decided I had to cast this because I think there's a lot of cool lessons to be learned here. It's also a pretty interesting matchup, one that I think a lot of new players get wrong. It is Drake versus Andy. I'm playing as Drake, my opponent is playing Andy. Back when I was more of a noob than I am now, I always thought that Andy was a natural counter to Drake because he can heal up the global damage dealt by Drake's powers, but this is not really that true because Drake's powers also help him to do the one thing that Andy really doesn't like, and that's to kill units. The battle between Drake and Andy is a very interesting one. It's kind of a battle of cat and mouse. It really comes down to how much each player is willing to risk on their powers, and also about how reckless the other player is. If you're playing overly reckless with either of these, you're going to get punished. So you need to really be careful and know when to pop your powers. So one of the reasons I actually selected Drake on this map is because if this is one of the only maps I have ever seen on Advanced Wars by Web that actually really incentivizes you to build a black boat from your harbor. This map is called Submarine Containing Ports, which, yeah, that's an accurate description of what this map is, I guess. There are some submarines here, which can't be moved off their ports, but they do provide some nice vision, as you can see right here. So, you can choose to destroy your own submarine to get this port captured if you want, but I don't think you should, because these submarines provide a lot of nice intel. They kind of guard your HQs, which are very exposed on this map. I want in particular for you to pay attention to this little strip of land right here. This is going to become very, very important when this map goes on. So you also have this airport that is blocked in by 4 pipe seams, which means you don't have to open all 4, but ideally you want to open this one so your airports, or so your aircraft can get out in the center. But needless to say, it's going to take a while before air units come on the field, and your opponent will also get a nice little warning because you can see pipe seams anywhere on the map. So if you pay attention, you'll be able to see, oh, my opponent is breaking down an airport, or he's breaking down a pipe seam. It's going to take them 2 more turns to capture an airport, and then you can start preparing anti-air. For this very reason, I thought Drake was a natural pick because, again, he gets faster black boats. It may not be that big a deal, but on this map, if you actually look at the layout, black boats are insane. I would maybe encourage building as many as 2 if you can afford it, because again, you have these islands right here, which you can get early with a black boat. You can also get it with a T-copter, but it'll take you some time. But you can also build a black boat right here and ferry infantry all the way over to the HQ. So black boats are insane here, and Drake, of course, has some of the best black boats in the game. He did get nerfed recently, or not recently, it's quite a while ago now, but he used to have 25% extra defense, which was kind of insane, because black boats are actually very good blockers. Vehicles don't deal a lot of damage to them, and even less so with Drake's black boats, but now that they're only 10%, it's a little bit easier to blast them out of the way, but still, like, medium tanks and neo tanks hardly deal damage to them. You probably need artillery or bombers if you want to get rid of them. So, my opponent, of course, picked Andy. I think he may have suspected that I would pick Drake. I do have a tendency to pick Drake in Tier 3. Now, I also want to talk about something else. So, my opponent is clearly an alt. As you can see right here, he has an 800 rating, so he doesn't play the Live League, or he doesn't play the Global League, but this is clearly his Live League account. I've noticed that this has become more common on Advanced Wars by Web, and I'm actually working on a video called, like, changes I want to Advanced Wars by Web in 2026, which I hope the developers will watch, so I'm not going to talk too much about it here, but I really wish that the site would do a better job of addressing alts, and one of the solutions I have in mind is you should be able to go into anonymous mode, where you hide all your information from your opponent except for your MMR during live games. This way, I think people will be less encouraged to create alts for Live League, because I think one of the reasons they do it is they don't want to give their opponents too much information about their playstyle. I don't know if that's why they do it, but I've been noticing an increasing amount of like 800 MMR alts in the Live League that are clearly very skilled opponents right here. Now you can see their Live League rating because I have a plugin for it. So you can see that this guy's almost 1,000 MMR Live League, which is pretty impressive. But I believe him to actually be far higher rated than that, and you'll see why once this map gets started. I don't know who this guy is, but he was really damn good. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, let us jump into the game. So, I'm Drake in the green trunks down in the bottom right corner. My opponent, Andy, in the red trunks up in the top left corner. This is a 2-base map, so infantry are not going to be as plentiful here. I don't know which player this favors more. I like to think it favors Andy because that means vehicles are going to be more important. And Andy does like his vehicles. My opponent opens up a recon, and spoiler alert, so do I. We both open recon on this map. Recons, I think, are a natural opener on this map because look at all the shoals. They're essentially roads, which means that the recon is going to have a fantastic mobility. It's also important to know what your opponent is doing on 2-base. You don't want to be out-tanked. My opponent actually goes double recon, which is actually very impressive, I will say. It's ballsy to say the least, but it is important to get an overview. In Live League, of course, things move very quickly, but my opponent was actually playing really fast. Normally, I tend to like out-time my opponent by like double-digit minutes, but this guy was playing pretty damn quick too, which is nice, actually. It made it a lot easier for me to stay engaged. I gotta say, one of my biggest weaknesses in the Live League is I tend to alt-tab when it's not my turn, even in Fog. I really shouldn't, but I get bored just sitting there looking at nothing happening. But this guy actually played so quickly that it was easy for me to stay engaged, which definitely makes me take the map a lot more seriously. So I start building a tank right here. One thing I noticed very quickly on this map was it's kind of hard to reinforce your vehicles in the bottom. Like, look at all, you have to go through 2 forest tiles to get to your HQ. And if you want to go this way, you also have to go through some forest tiles. So this is one of those tricky maps where they're not very big, but there are plenty of forests slowing down your reinforcements. So that forces you to think further ahead. Now, I do get my recon caught out in the open. I believe my opponent got a pretty good roll here. 6-9 is a pretty good trade for a recon. It means that I can't really continue to take this brawl, so I have to pull back. But that's fine. You know, my recon can still scout just as effectively on 6 HP. It's not really that big a deal. So my opponent moves out, and he actually builds his black boat on day 7. I believe I do too. And black boats, they're quite an investment. 7,005, that is a little more than a tank. You don't really want to be a tank behind your opponent, but on a map like this, with all these shoals and these 2 island properties right here, which you can get very early, I think that black boats are an incredible investment. Also considering they can repair and block, there's just so much they can do. The economy that they give you by transporting infantry to the front line will more than earn itself in, I believe, over the course of this game. So I think both me and my opponent recognize that. So I build a black boat too. I was a little nervous to do this because if your opponent does not build a black boat and they get super aggressive with tanks, it can be punished pretty hard. If your opponent is 1 tank ahead of you in a brawl, there's no way you're going to win that. You're going to have to pull back, which means they can take cities that you will not be able to get. But yeah, it's kind of ballsy. He goes for double both of these at once. But I mean, it is nice. It will give him some extra economy. He also goes for an artillery. And artillery makes a lot of sense here. Again, you want to ideally knock down this seam right here. So my opponent, I didn't realize actually how reckless this opener was. I mean, going double recon, black boat, and artillery is certainly a ballsy move. If I was like a very aggressive CO, maybe like Kindle here, and I just spam tanks, I probably could have just crushed him. Because this is akin to, if anyone here plays like Age of Empires, this is like akin to like teching up to Castle Age and booming town centers. Or if you play StarCraft, it's like going like 2 or 3 base. It is a very reckless but very ballsy opener. And here, I do manage to catch his recon out in the open. This is a huge pickup for me. Massive early game advantage here. He has no way of punishing this. Of course, he has a second recon. I didn't know this. But when you have 2 recons, you can't afford to lose one. But it's still a big pickup for me personally. Like, it completely shuts down any kind of intel he has in this area right here. So, looking at this match so far, like if I were to cast this game neutrally, not knowing anything, I would say that I have a huge advantage in this opener right here. This is definitely my game to take. So he continues to use this black boat to pick up infantry, and this is a bit of an interesting move that he decides to do here. He loads them in at the end of his turn, which there's not really any point in doing that. I'm actually wondering, this might have been a bit of a mistake. So what he could have done here, instead of doing this is actually a big mistake on his end. I didn't I didn't catch this like first time I watched the replay, but there's no reason to do this. What you do is you put the black boat here instead, and that way you can move your infantry, and then you have 2 extra spaces of movement for your black boat next turn. So this is really just a huge blunder from my opponent right here, a massive one. It may not end up being that consequential, but I mean, this black boat could have gone here next turn, so or here if you wanted to. So again, there's just no point in doing this. So he interrupts my cap, and you can see right here, this map definitely has a strong side, weak side component to it. Your subs are on your weak side, and your HQ is on your weak side. So this is my weak side, this is his weak side, because I am able to reinforce here easier. To go here, I have to go through 2 forest tiles, which is just harder to do. On 2 base maps, strong side, weak side is less pronounced because you have 2 bases instead of, or you have 1 base on each side, except for like 2 bases on your strong side. But I'd say this map definitely still follows that dynamic. So we're both using our black boats right here. I'm poking and prodding a little bit here. I get the 2-hit KO with 1 com tower. I think that's a 33% chance. A bit of a ballsy move. It's a shame I didn't have a vehicle to move in here. I wonder if maybe I could have done that a little differently. No. So, generally speaking, I wouldn't recommend doing this unless you can put a 3rd infantry on the building. So, there's not really an... because he's just going to move another unit onto the building now and get a free hit on me, so... And now I'm seeing that he's breaking down the pipe seam. He's going to be able to get it in 2 turns, and then he'll cap the airport in 4 turns. So I know now that I don't need to build an untire until 3 or 4 days. So I can sit pretty comfortably, and I don't really have to bother with it a lot. So I do like that this map gives you an indication of when their units are coming out. That's another thing that makes Drake a little bit stronger here. So my opponent goes medium tank on day 10, and this is definitely what you want to do as Andy. With Andy, the more teched up you are, the better off you are, because teched up units die slower. And a medium tank is hard to bring down. It's easier to pull back and repair, even more so for a neo tank. Bomber's not quite there because they can get killed by Antire, but it's still hard to one-shot them. An Antire doesn't really one-shot them without a substantial firepower increase. You kind of have to build a fighter, and if there's one unit you don't want to build... There's one CO you don't want to build fighters with, is Drake, so... Bombers can still be pretty nice, unless you have 2 Antire. So here, I just I take a bit of a defensive position, but looking at this map right now, I should have been a hell of a lot more aggressive than I currently am. Like, my opponent has picked such a slow opener right here, and I think I was overly afraid of him because of his relatively high live matchmaking rating. Because, yeah, it's, like, if you look at this, he has nothing, really. He has no tanks. His tank is over here. His artillery is here. His medium tank is going to take forever to reach the front lines. I actually was playing around with the idea of building a lander, believe it or not, because of, you know, the reinforcements, but that will take so long to earn itself in. It's definitely not worth it in this match, but I would almost consider it. In high funds, I would definitely build a lander on this map. But looking at my position right now, he has absolutely nothing, and I really should just crush him here. But of course, that is how Fog of War works. Fog of War, you don't know what your opponent has, so you have to be scared. You don't want to be clobbered. Imagine if he has like 3 tanks right here. Now, of course, there are some telltale signs that he does not. Like, for example, I know he built an artillery, so I know his tank count is not going to be that high. So maybe I should have been a bit better at reading the game and realizing that I'm actually pretty far ahead in this position, and I should leverage that with some captures. But I move out, and I continue to like go for the city right here. And I use my black boat to try and block him. If I can pick up this city, that'd be a pretty nice pickup right here. And I do reckon I don't see a lot of tanks around here, so I do decide to go for some interrupts. I don't want to let him... Keep in mind, he is like right on my HQ doorstep right here with these 2 infantry, so I don't want them to be on full health if I can avoid it, right? So day 12 rolls in. He finally finishes taking the airport down, or the pipe seam leading to the airport. He takes down my recon, which is a bit of an unfortunate pickup for me, or for him. Or it's an unfortunate pickup for him. It's unfortunate for me, my goodness. It is unfortunate for me that he picked up my recon. Fortunate for him. And he gets a nice little shot with his tank right there. And 3 medium tanks, ladies and gentlemen. This guy just tanked up like crazy. You can see that our value is pretty equal, and his capture game is also pretty equal, but he just chooses to tech up like crazy. And so It's pretty strong for him to do that, because as a Drake, I can't really build bombers. They're very bad at minus 30%, so I really just have to try and match him with medium tank or neo tanks. I think at this point, looking at the board right here, I do build an anti-air, and I build it way too early. There is no reason for me to build this anti-air so early. I know that he just blasted down the pipe seam. It's going to take him 1-2 days to capture, and then he can build an air unit on the 3rd, and then 2 days after that, that air unit will be on the front lines. This anti-air could have been delayed another 2 days at least, and it would have still arrived in time to deal with the air unit. So this is a complete overreaction for me. I was like, oh shit, he knocked down the pipe seam. Gotta produce an anti-air right away. No. There's no need to do that. There is no need to do that. Here, I think instead of building anti-air tank, what I should have done is I could have combined, this is probably what Degis would have done. I could have combined my tanks together and build a neo tank. Because I know when I go up against Andy, I know he's going to tech up. This is the game plan of every Andy. And instead, I decided to keep up my aggression. And furthermore, this is actually this is actually not a bad move by me, but I make one very crucial mistake. This infantry should not be used to block here, because if you notice this, actually, if he didn't have his black boat here, I could have absolutely crippled him by putting my black boat here on 805, and that would have shut down any kind of counter push that he would have been able to do. But because I block this with a 4 HP infantry, imagine if I had like a full HP infantry and a tank here. It would have been impossible for him to break through, even with a medium tank. So this would have been a really good pickup for me, but I fumble my wall, and I don't quite... I really should have utilized that empty missile silo slot a lot better than I was. And because I fumble, he's able to wall break me, and he's able to get his medium tank in, one-shot my tank from the missile silo, and this kind of counterattack by me gets completely shut down. And now he has 4 medium tanks, so my opponent just techs and techs and techs. You can see we are equal in value in unit count and almost even in properties, but he just continues to tack up. And it's kind of bonkers, actually, how much he techs up. Now, I pull back my tanks for repair. I think that is fine to do. But I will say I'm not really using my black boat as well as I should. And it's also kind of impressive that I haven't gone for these yet. I was really trying hard to get these 2 properties, but this property is actually very hard to get. I think going for this capture is just pointless. But my opponent right here, he seems to recognize this pretty early on. He uses recons really well. I think this was one of the things that made him a better player than me in this matchup was he was really good at building recons. He always had at least 2 recons on the map, whereas I don't have a single one. So his intel is so much better than mine, and this allows him to do things like this. Now, of course, this is a gamble. This is a big gamble, and he doesn't know if I have a medium tank right here. This is a huge gamble, but look, his hyper upgrade is coming closer. So unless I have 2 medium tanks, this is actually pretty safe for him to do. He might even be expecting me to have a medium tank here to punish him. But even a medium tank attacking here will only deal about 5 HP of damage, which will allow him to pull it back and repair it next turn. So I think he just had a massive vision increase, and here he actually does spot my medium tank, so he knows where it is now. I don't think he expected it to be here, otherwise I don't think he would have attacked. But this is a crucial part of this game right here, because here we both have our powers ready. So now this becomes a game of chicken. Who pops their power first? If he pops his power first, then I can punish him hard with global damage. But if I pop my power first, he can just repair it up. So it really just comes down to who is going to click that button first. And here, I'm like, okay, so he's a medium tank here, so surely he doesn't have it here, right? But of course he does. But one thing that I'm noticing right here is that I'm getting really cucked by this like reinforcement line right here. Like, this divide is so difficult because it makes it so hard to focus your forces together. It's so slow to go down here. And I'm noticing my opponent is constantly pushing the battle in this direction. He wants me to fight around here because he knows it's hard for me to reinforce from the bottom line. Whereas nothing is really happening up here for me. I'm not really punishing him on this front at all. Looking back on it, I probably could have built an artillery and applied some pressure to his submarine, removing his vision, taking over the harbor. But instead, I'm kind of taking battle on his terms. Now, on day 15, he does the predictable thing. He builds a bomber. I know a bomber's coming because he is Andy. Bomber makes perfect sense against Drake, because anti-air is pretty much the only thing that can counter it. And even a Drake anti-air on one com tower does not one-shot a Bomber, which means that even if I have an anti-air, he can still pull that Bomber back and repair it, getting some of the value back. So it makes perfect sense for him to do so. And at this point, I'm like, just how many medium tanks does this guy have? And he even uses his artillery to punish my black boat, which is very smart, because this black boat can be used to block his medium tanks in a big way. And here, I must admit, I'm starting to despair a little bit here. I realize I'm up against a far better player than me. He's just playing this very beautifully. So I do a bit of a desperation move here. I decide to go for some luck rolls. I pop my Typhoon. I reveal my anti-air, which is a bit of a desperation move. I kill his recon, because killing recons is important, especially when with Drake. And he knows this, which is why he already has... Look, he already has 2 more recons ready to go. Like, this guy... clearly watched Deejus' videos, because he knows how important it is to have recons in Fog of War. You can see I still haven't built my second recon, and this is such a big deal because this Typhoon punishes me too. Drake does not get extra vision in range, or in rain. He still gets punished the same way his opponent gets, except that he can decide when it happens. But my opponent always had 1 or 2 recons ready to go at any time. And because he builds medium tanks, he can usually afford to get an extra recon out. But I see an opportunity to kill 2 of his medium tanks right here. So I attack here, and this time I did calculate this, and or I didn't like calculate it down to the nitty-gritty, but there was definitely a chance for me to win this. But I use a black bolt repair. He's down to 3 HP, but I think I rolled just a little too low. I think my odds of beating this was like 50-50. So he's sadly going to be able to repair that up next turn. But on his turn, he does something that very surprises me, but I've seen this a lot, and this is a nice little trick that Andy players have up their sleeve when they're fighting Drake. Instead of going for the superpower, he just pops his hyper repair after my Typhoon. This is incredibly useful because not only does it completely negate the damage from the Typhoon, but it also means that he has a second power ready to go very quickly after. It's not completely there because there's still the 20% power fatigue that kicks in. So you can see he still needs another 5k charge, but he'll get that. He'll get that if he really wants to. So what this really means is that instead of getting like 5 HP right away and the 1 extra move and the firepower, he instead gets 4 HP over 2 turns, but he keeps his 10-10 passive boost for 2 turns, which honestly is almost as good as the superpower. Being able to kind of extend the range of your power into 2 turns instead of 1 is a trade-off that I think many players will take if it benefits them. And also, he doesn't really need to pop his hyper upgrade here. He doesn't really have that many injured units aside from the ones hit by my Typhoon. But because he just has so many medium tanks, it is easier for him to just take full advantage here. And he goes for a cheeky little cap here. Luckily, I have an anti-air. Wait, what happened there? I have no idea what happened there. I think I skipped a turn. Wait, what? Is the replay viewer bugged? Why is the bomber suddenly teleporting? Huh. I think it just skipped ahead a day? What in the places is going on here? Let me try that again. I've never seen the replay do this. It might be a bug. All right. So he goes in with the bomber. He builds a battlecopter and then okay. This is an interest. I think it just jumped forward a few days. Wow. Okay. Well. Advanced search by web. You need to... Wow, this replay is completely broken. What the hell is going on? Oh my god, I've never had a replay break like this. I've never had a replay break like this before. My goodness. You know what? I think we need to do a refresh. Just gonna spoil the match, but I think you realize it's a loss anyway for me, so... Yeah. Sorry about that. Let's try that again, shall we? Wow, on day 15, the replay just breaks. So yeah. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what happened there. But the replay just bricked itself, I guess. But at this point, the game is pretty much lost, so I think it's fine. I don't think I'm going to redo this. But what happens here is essentially he's sending out bombers, and then for whatever reason, the replay viewer jumps ahead a few days and kind of shits itself. But yeah, he is, like, I'm building Neo-Tanks at this point to try and keep up with him, but he's already won this match. It's not really any competition right here. He even goes for an HQ cap right here, which I actually am able to interrupt. I thought I wasn't. I actually said GG here, but then I realized, actually, no, I can interrupt it. But it doesn't matter because, look, he has so many units around my HQ. And now he's just sending a bunch of air units my way. And notice what I said at the start of the match right here. How I have to funnel my entire army through this annoying little one choke point tile with 2 forest tiles in it. Whereas he has all of his units surrounding my HQ. Look how I have to line my units up in a giant Congo line right here. And he's just taking advantage of that to the fullest by placing his units like this. I used a Typhoon, but it doesn't really matter. I'm able to do something right here, but if you look at the map, I have 12 units to his 20. I've lost this already. I have lost this already. He pops his Hyper Repair again, and at this point, it is GG. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I have to resign. So my opponent played this beautifully, I think. He recognized immediately the weaknesses of the map, where if he could just dominate this area right here, he could eventually just HQ cap me and I wouldn't be able to reinforce. He also played Andy really beautifully, used this Hyper Repair to negate my Typhoon. He teched up, he always capped 2 recons. So the reason I lost this match was just I didn't build recons, I didn't respond to his tech up in time. I think what I could have done early, if we go back a little bit, if there's like one lesson that I think, or 2 lessons that I should take away from this, it's I need to build more recons in Fog, and I should have teched up a lot sooner. I should have teched up, I'd say, on day 14, let's go back to like day 13 here, or yeah, so this, he already has 3 medium tanks on day 13. I think instead of building my first medium tank, what I could have done in this situation, because if you look at the state of the board right now, I'm definitely in control. He's doing a super greedy tech up, artillery play. He has no presence here. If I had like just 1 recon here, if my recon hadn't, or if I built a second recon, I could have just dominated this section right here. I could have gotten these 2 properties, maybe even built an artillery and take down this sub and applied a ton of pressure to his HQ. But I think at this point, instead of building my medium tank, I should have maybe combined tanks together, built a Neo tank on day 11, and that would have given me a huge response to his tech up, because a Typhoon plus a Neo tank will kill a medium tank if it's not in a city. And even if it's not in a city, or even if it is on a city, you can follow it up with a tank to kill it. So yeah, lessons learned here. I need to build more recons, and against Andy, I need to tech up even further. And I should have recognized how greedy his opener was when I saw him starting to blast this pipe seam, and I should have just gone super aggressive, and I should have just have more recons in general. But props to my opponent. He was able to figure this out really easily. I'm really sad the replay kind of broke, but at least it broke like towards the later half of the match when it was sort of already decided. But yeah, this is something that needs to be looked into a little bit, I think, here. It almost looks like 2 of the days got, like, merged together or something. I've never seen this happen before. I've never seen this happen before in all my years of casting Advanced Wars games. So either my plugins are broken or there's something broken with the website. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye! Take care.